On the screen, you can see Earth is moving around Sun. You can also see different seasons like spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So it is quite obvious that we will be learning something about Earth, Sun, and seasons. So, a very warm welcome to all the viewers on my channel Smart Study with Shivani. And our today's topic of learning is seasons and adaptations. Moving ahead, you can see a beautiful solar system where all the planets are moving around the sun. You can see different lines like blue, yellow, orange, red, and so on and so forth. So, what are these lines called? These lines are nothing but orbit. In a broad terminology, we can say that orbit is a repeating path that one object in space takes around another. One object means the different planets in the space repeating and moving around sun, which is another object. Particularly, we can say that Earth moves around the sun in a regular repeating path called orbit. This movement of Earth around the sun is termed as revolution. So, friends, you can see that blue, green, and yellow lines, they are called orbits, and all the planets, they revolve around the sun in their particular definite orbit only. They don't move away and get into some another orbit and get collapsed. Now, the shape of Earth's orbit. Looking at the shape, we can say that it looks like an egg. So, we can say mathematically that it is elliptical. But scientists found that it is not a perfect ellipse. So, they called the shape of the Earth's orbit as slight ellipse. The Sun and the Earth. Earth is the third planet in the solar system revolving around the Sun. So it is obvious that it is some distance away from the Sun. So what is that distance? That distance is 150 million kilometers. Yes, friends, Earth is 150 million kilometers away from Sun. The period of one revolution. That means Earth, when completes one entire elliptical path, that period is referred to as 1 year. That means Earth takes 1 year to complete one revolution around the Sun, or it can be defined as 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds to be precise. Sun is bigger in size than Earth, so obviously it has more mass than the Earth. Now, going back to our previous chapter of force and magnetism, we studied that force is dependent on the mass of the object. Over here, Sun is heavier, bigger, or more having more mass than the Earth. So obviously, Sun exerts more gravitational force on Earth than Earth exerting force on Sun. Earth, along with revolving around the Sun, it also spins on its own axis. This spinning of Earth is called rotation. Earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation on its own axis. Over here you can see the image wherein Earth is rotating on its own axis and Earth is slightly tilted on its own axis. It is not straight, it is tilted. An imaginary line which is passing through the center of the earth is called equator, which divides the earth into two hemispheres. The top one is called the northern hemisphere, and the bottom one or below the equator is called the southern hemisphere. Now, when the earth rotates on its own axis, some part of the earth is facing towards the sun. So, the part of the earth which is facing towards the sun experiences the day, whereas the other part or the remaining part which is away from the sun experiences night. So we can conclude that rotation of the earth on its own axis causes the changes in the day and night. Over here we can see that earth is revolving around the sun as well as it is rotating on its own axis, because of which we experience different seasons in different hemispheres. For example, the colors marked in yellow, like starting from winter during December 21-22, then spring in March, summer in June, and autumn in September. Those are the northern hemispheres which is facing towards the sun and hence experiencing those seasons. And the pink color represents the seasons experienced in the southern hemisphere. So when the northern hemisphere is experiencing winter, southern hemisphere will experience the opposite or the reverse season. So winter, if it is winter in the northern hemisphere, summer is in the southern hemisphere. If autumn is in the southern hemisphere, spring is in the northern hemisphere. So what are the causes for the changes in season from winter to autumn, autumn to summer? So what are the reasons behind them? The first is revolution of earth around the sun. Because when the earth is revolving around the sun, different part or different hemisphere of the earth is getting faced towards the sun. So this causes the changes in the season in the different parts of the earth. And second reason is the slight tilting of the earth on its own axis. If you see the first image of the December, the southern hemisphere is slightly more tilted towards the sun. So that will cause winter towards them and the summer on the opposite hemisphere. So these are the two main reasons for the changes in the seasons. So when the North Pole is tilted towards the sun, it is summer in the northern hemisphere, and when the southern pole is tilted towards the sun, it's summer in the southern hemisphere. Now if we closely look at this image, we see that sun is in the center and earth is revolving around the sun in its orbit. Moon is also revolving around the earth in its own axis, as well as earth is also rotating on its own axis. One more thing over here you can see is that earth is revolving around the sun in the anti-clockwise direction or counterclockwise direction. Basis this diagram, you have to answer the following questions. Find out the reason of the sun's motion across the sky. So when we are standing in a balcony of our house, we see that the sky is moving. So does the sun is really moving across the sky? What's the reason behind it? The second part you have to answer is why is the sun only visible during the daytime? Third, why the sun rises in the east and sets in the west? A small hint I would like to give on this C part, you can see the arrow in which the moon is revolving around the earth and earth revolving around the sun. Then it will helpful to you to give the answer. Second question is 1 year is equivalent to 365 and 1/4 days. This is the time taken by the earth to complete its one revolution around the sun. But actually when we look to our calendar or our days, we don't have any day of 1/4 hour. We have days of 24 hours only. So how do we manage the 1/4 day? That's all from my end. Today we will be discussing the answers of these questions in my next video. Stay tuned to the channel Smart Study with Shivani. Thank you and have a good day.